So, in addition to the giant collection of Japanese role-playing games that I got, I also managed to get my hands on quite a few different sci-fi games along the way as well, or just sci-fi books in general. So the first one I want to show you, simply because this is partially relevant because Cyberpunk 2077 finally got a press release update demo thing, is Cyberpunk Streetfighting, which is a source book for Cyberpunk 2020, and it's pretty straightforward. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Just a collection of scenarios that you can run in Cyberpunk 2020 with all the different maps and enemy stat blocks right here written in the book. It's straightforward. There's not a whole lot to say about it. But one thing that I did find interesting about this actually was that it was released by Atlas Games, which is they're more known for like their card games and whatnot, but I do know that they did make a few role-playing games before as well. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting, which Happy Ever After, I actually think that's a game that's still in print to this day. And I think this right here was actually released in like 87, I think? And oh my goodness. No, it's probably much later because Atlas Games at AOL.com. Oh my goodness. Okay, 93. This was actually released like when our Talzorian Games was starting to wind down a little bit. But they have an AOL.com email address. Oh my goodness. I wonder if it still works, actually, if they still receive email to it. Alright. But that's not the big enchilada. That's not the big enchilada. What I got right here is I have this steaming pile of garbage right here. This is generally regarded as one of the worst games that was ever made, and it's got Gary Edward Gygax on. Well, not Edward, but it's got Gary Gygax listed in the credits for this game, and it has his very usual sort of meandering way of describing everything. But the thing that I do like there is a few things that I do really like about this. I just wish that like the artwork wasn't so terrible and all that other stuff, but it actually has an introduction that explains very succinctly explains how to use the book, what parts you should read, what other books you need, and just a whole bunch of other things. And they also have a section explaining all the mathematics behind all of the behind how all the dice work and all the different ways you can roll the dice, because it apparently uses a single D10. It also uses two D10s where you add the results together. Then it uses D10X where you roll both dice and multiply them together. Which this is the probability graph for rolling a single D10. This is for rolling 2d10 and adding the results together. It goes from being a straight X to a sort of curved X. And then you have this weird monstrosity right here that I don't think my camera can quite pick up the details on, but it is not a smooth looking graph. And it's just got diagrams and charts, and I think someone wrote in this book. This is what I get for buying secondhand. But this game is, I will cede this much to you guys at least. There are games that are worse than Slay Industries out there. This is one of them. Oh man, that's terrible. Now, I am also kind of known for like just sort of shining a light onto like anime role-playing games, right? Well, I also happened to find yet another. Brace yourself for this one. Bounty Head Bebop. I wonder what this game was trying to be. Bounty Head Bebop. And this is the one that I actually have the most notes on, because this is a real piece of work. So, like, the first things off is it leads off with not any, like, sort of information on the publication. That doesn't show up until, like, this page right here. This is all the information you have regarding the publication and the credits and whatnot. And make a note of this picture right here, because you know what? It's gonna come up again. It's gonna come up several times. They start off with all the basics. Know what's a role-playing game section. This game just doesn't hold your hand. It throws you right into the deep end. Assumes that you know what a role-playing game is. Which, if you're watching this video, you probably don't need that section either. So it just starts with all the different traits and what they mean. There's a character creation summary, right? Character creation summary, making a character, and then it starts off really simple, and then it just starts going bit by bit into the nitty gritty, much like another game from Germany that I really liked. And so it starts off really simple. It starts off with all the simple stuff, all the summaries right at the beginning. I like that, and then it starts drilling down as it goes along. And all right, so you remember what I said, that this picture is going to be everywhere? Yeah, this picture is used at least, this same picture right here is used at least 4 times in this book. You see it right at, so we got it once right at the beginning. Hold on, I can find it. So we got it once right there at page 1, then boom, right here on page 14, flipped around. And then you know where else we got it? You know where else we got it? We have it on page 26. See, look, I'm not even exaggerating. Not even exaggerating. You know what? I can probably find a fourth instance of this, but you know what? That's oh. All right, there we go. messed up my audio for a second there. But anyways, yeah. So yeah, this is a game that's supposed to be trying to be Cowboy Bebop, but they also add in feng shui. You have the power of arranging things in your room just so that you can do things like reading people's auras, or knowing when something bad is going to happen, or chart fate, which is described as this can allow anything to happen, from all of his enemies dying one by one in various accidents in the home, to the feng shui master or anyone they choose becoming ruler of a planet by popular vote of the people. This game literally gives you a power that says, hey, you know what? Fuck you, GM. I want this to happen, and you can't say no. Although the GM can say that it might take a little bit longer, or other unintended things will happen along the way. And there's psychic power, so it starts off with the premise of trying to be Cowboy Bebop, but then as it goes on, they just start adding in other stuff that makes it a little bit more unusual. So I'm probably gonna dig a little bit deeper into this one and do a review for this one for you guys later as well. Simply because I don't want Guardians of Order to be the only like anime role-playing game company that I talk about. And speaking of really, and going back to the subject of really old weird things, this is something that was released by TSR called the Amazing Engine. I'm probably not going to go drill too deep into this one, but it's the premise of it was that you would get one character that would fit into multiple different settings, and it was an idea. It was like, I think this was released like back in back in '93, so it's not like this was still a new medium. This was like they were just sort of toying around with trying to come up with a new idea. But where it sort of falls apart though is that different game books have like different game settings have like different rules and different skills and whatnot that would be used. So even when you make your initial core character, your character core as they would call it, the character themselves like would actually have to have a lot of retooling done to make them viable in the new system. There's a lot of, like, you would have to like redistribute their skills and what have you, and it seemed it's like an unnecessary step, because it was a novel idea, but it wasn't a good idea. And what we have is, so right here is sort of a cyberpunk setting, set in sort of a quasi post-apocalypse. It's not quite the apocalypse, but you're kind of wishing it would happen already. Whereas Bug Hunters is more like Starship Troopers. You're playing as Space Marines fighting horrible alien menaces. So these two right here kind of fit together. And there is a third one that I've seen, but I haven't been able to get my hands on, where it was like Magitech or something like that. And it was just modern times if magic was real. And the thing that I really don't like about like 80s RPGs is that sometimes the artwork is just, well, this one right here doesn't actually have a whole lot of artwork in it, but it's all black and white, which it's great. It worked great in like Dungeons and Dragons, but it's just not as appealing in this for some reason. And another thing I do have to say I like about it is that it came with a lot of really neat star charts. Like maps, star charts for Bug Hunters, and this one I think had some maps of the internet, as it were. So this right here is the character. This right here is the character sheet for Chromosome, but the character core is drastically smaller. So it doesn't work. It's why do you need this when you can just make something with this? But anyways, this one did have one image that I particularly liked. It was on page 25, it's according to my notes here. And what you got is a bunch of people in a dirty urban sprawl wearing gas masks. He's holding a bouquet of flowers. This says, "Take time to smell the roses." If that doesn't say dystopian future, I don't know what. All right, so just because I like flip flopping around, Robotech, the role-playing game. So if it wasn't evident before with some of the cameos I make in some of the things I sort of slip into my other games. Not my other games, my other videos. I am a gigantic freaking weeaboo, and I actually do not like Robotech because I much prefer like the original source material that it was derived from. I much preferred like the original Macross series, and I can sort of appreciate the existence of this game because Robotech is what America turned Macross into. But because of all that and all sorts of other licensing bullshit, we still aren't able to get like any official translations of stuff like Macross 7 and Macross Delta, and I really love like the later Macrosses, just because well, I don't know. I'm getting a little overexcited, but anyways, to bring it back to the book, a lot of the artwork in this one is that it's mostly like giant robots and stuff, because that's pretty much what this entire game is all about. When you make your character, the only one that like this really the only sort of character archetype this really supports is somebody that pilots mechs. Because even though there are skills for other things, it is largely all about your giant robots, which that's kind of not what Macross is, like what Macross, the original source material that Robotech derived from, was all about. And that's also like just part of the reason why I don't like Robotech, because yeah. This is not a good thing for me to ad-lib because I get too excited and lose to focus too easy. Anyways, yeah, I might or might not cover this one. This one originally belonged to Brian Palmertree, but you know what? It's mine now, Brian. It's mine now. Alright, so last one I got for the Sci-Fi collection. This one's actually a much more modern game, which I haven't looked into just yet. And I have to be really careful when I'm flipping through this one because it is Sci-Fi Role-Playing After Dark. And there is a very good reason it says that. I may or may not be able to do a video review on this one without getting in trouble. But this one is definitely a more modern take, because in the beginning section, like on page 4, you have just a long list of names, which you always find this sort of thing in a game that was, well, that would have been kickstarted. And one thing that I actually want to point out is underwriters. There's one name right here. It says, hold on, there we go. Clay Gardner. I wonder if that is the same Clay Gardner that did the game, that did the anime role-playing game OVA. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, this one's definitely a much newer game, precisely because there is like a lot more like it looks like it's been Kickstarter backed. It's also got a whole bunch of different web pages and what have you. And I actually have to say that I do like the design work in this one, because it's all very colorful, and you have this. It looks like a slime girl, but according to later parts in the book, it's actually an energy being. But she is a recurring sort of like illustration that appears throughout the game. And this game actually reminds me a lot of, I think it was Blades in the Dark, because it mentions playbooks and different actions and what have you that you can take. So I think it's might use the same sort of core system. And it also has a lot of really, how shall we say, a lot of really interesting, almost like you got like a frog, a sort of a frog critter right there. You got whatever that is, and it just gets progressively weirder. I might not be able to show that, so I might not actually be able to show that, but that's the energy being I was describing earlier. And then you get some sort of horrible, bug monster things. I love this game if for nothing else than the bizarre, surreal artwork. Whether I'd actually want to play this, I'm not sure, but I might or might not be able to do a review of this, because there was actually quite a few nip slips in there that I'm probably gonna have to censor in post. So, anyways, yeah, there was 2018 was kind of a slow year for the channel, and in that time though, I did manage to get quite a stockpile of things that I would be able to cover in later reviews, which I probably will be doing for which I'll probably try to get picking back the ball back up in 2019. But until that time comes though, I am Aaron Der Schädel, and I will see you all next time.